Welcome back to Aligned by Design, the podcast where we explore what it really means to live in alignment with who you are. I'm Flavie, and today I want to talk about a fear that nobody discusses in the entrepreneurship space. It's not the fear of failing. We talk about that all the time. It's not the imposter syndrome. It has been covered to death. It's the fear of succeeding, really, truly succeeding. And if you ever caught yourself sabotaging opportunities, playing small when you know you could go bigger, or feeling terrified when things start working too well, this episode is going to shift everything for you because what I'm about to share will help you to understand why you're afraid of the very thing you say you want the most. And let me tell you, I know you're working hard towards your goals. You say you want success, impact, wealth, recognition. You post about your dreams. You create vision boards. You tell people about your big plans. But here's what I've noticed when real opportunities for big success show up, something strange happens. You hesitate, you second guess, you find reason why now is not the right time, or you're not quite ready yet. And you think it's a fear of failure, but it's not. You are not afraid. You cannot handle failing. You've probably failed before, and look, you survived. You're afraid you can't handle succeeding. Not just a little success, not just doing well enough, but the kind of success that changes everything. The kind that means you can never go back to who you were before. You know, the kind of success that makes you unrecognizable to the people who told you to be realistic. So, let me tell you about the moment I realized this about myself. I remember, sitting in rooms with seven, eight, even 11 figures entrepreneurs and feeling so small. These were not just successful people. These were people operating at a level I could not even comprehend. And one day I was attending a training, and the facilitator asked us to share how much revenue we wanted to generate in our business. And as people start sharing, I watch a number go up on the screen: 1 million, 5 million, 10 million. And I was sitting here thinking, oops, am I kind of ridiculous with my 250K goal for the year? I just wanted to replace my corporate salary. That felt like a big enough dream to me. But doing seven figures? That was not even thinkable. Who was I to dream about making seven figures? But here's what hit me in that moment. It wasn't that I didn't have the capability, the capacity, the knowledge, and the skills. It's that I had never given myself permission to dream that big. And I realized I wasn't afraid of failing. I was afraid of succeeding beyond what felt appropriate for someone like me. You see, I could trace this back to every message I've ever received about money, success, and ambition. Get a good education so you can get a good job. Translation: work for someone else forever. A steady paycheck is security. Translation: don't ever bet on yourself. Money doesn't grow on the trees. Translation: wealth is scarce and you probably don't deserve it. Or be realistic about your expectation. Translation: your dreams are too big. And this one, it. The ultimate programming. Go to school, get good grade, get a job with benefits, work for 40 years, maybe soon 50. Get married, have kids, buy a house with a 30 years mortgage, retire if you're lucky. That was a script. That was what successful people did. Anything outside of that was risky, irresponsible, and just plain unrealistic. But sitting there, surrounded by people who had clearly thrown that script in the garbage, I understood some things that changed everything. Nobody ever taught me how to dream big? Think about it. What messages did you receive growing up with ambition about money, about success? We were taught to dream small, to be grateful for crumbs, to think that wanting more made us greedy or unrealistic. Even in entrepreneurship circles, room full of people who should be encouraging big dreams, when you talk about really massive visions, millions in revenue, global impact, building something that outlasts you, people get uncomfortable. They start talking about, be realistic. They start reminding you to take it one step at a time. But why? Why are we so afraid of people dreaming big? Why do we feel the need to shrink other people's visions down to what feels manageable to us? Because big dreams are threatening. They force us to confront our own limitations. They make us question why we settle for less. When someone says they want to impact 1 million lives, and you've convinced yourself that helping 10 people is enough, their dreams becomes a mirror reflecting back your own playing small. So we teach each other to want less, to aim lower, to be realistic. But here's what nobody tells you: your soul doesn't dream small. Your soul dreams at the level of your true capacity. And that's probably much, much, much bigger than anyone ever told you was acceptable. So, take a breath. Here is the uncomfortable truth. The world needs you to stay small. When you dream small, you're not a threat to anyone. You don't make people question their own choices. You don't challenge the status quo. But when you start dreaming at the level your soul actually wants, when you start talking about building something that matters, creating wealth that provides real freedom, impacting thousands or millions of lives, people get scared. Not of your potential failure, but of your potential success. Because your success is a mirror. It shows them what is possible. And that's uncomfortable for people who've convinced themselves to settle. Think about the script we were handed growing up. The ones that goes go to school, good grade, good job, blah, blah, blah. Maybe squeeze in some happiness on weekends and 2 weekends of vacation. Get married, have kids, buy a house with a 30 years mortgage. Be grateful for the steady paycheck. Don't rock the boat. Don't want too much. And if you follow that script perfectly, you get to die having lived someone else's definition of a good life. But here's what nobody tells you about that script: it requires you to stay exactly who you are right now, forever. It requires you to never outgrow your current identity, never become someone bigger, never transform into the person your dream would require you to be. And that's the real reason you're afraid of success. Not because you can't handle the money or the impact or the recognition. You're afraid of the real success, that kind your soul is calling for. It requires you to kill off who you are right now. It requires you to stop being the person who plays it safe, the person who settles for good enough, the person who makes everyone else comfortable by just staying small. Success means becoming someone unrecognizable, someone who thinks differently, acts differently, expects differently. And that feels like death, because in a way, it is. Let me let me just, be really honest with you about what this transformation actually looks like, because nobody talks about that part. When you start dreaming bigger, you don't just change your goals. You have to change who you are at your core. The woman who wants to build a 7-figure business can't keep the mindset of someone who think, 120K is a big deal. She had to shed, that identity completely. The woman who wants to impact millions can't keep thinking like someone who's grateful just to help 10 people. That version has to die. It's not just about changing your thinking. This is about also, grieving the loss of who you used to be. And I remember the day I realized I couldn't call myself just a mom trying to figure things out anymore. That identity has been safe. It gave me permission to not know things, to make mistakes, to keep expectations low. But it also kept me small. When I started, to claim bigger dreams, I had to kill off that version of myself. And it was terrifying because I didn't know who I would be without her, without that safety. Who are you without the stories that you don't know about business? Who are you without the beliefs that people like you don't make that kind of money? Who are you without the comfort of being the underdog? The transformation requires you to grieve the safety of low expectations, the comfort of being relatable to everyone, the permission to not know what you're doing, the excuse that you're just getting started, the identity of being the person things happen to instead of the person who makes things happen. And then you have to be willing to step into an identity that feels foreign. The woman who expects success, the woman who knows she belongs in rooms with $1 million dreamers, the woman who doesn't apologize for her ambition, the woman who prices according to her value, not her fears, the woman who acts like someone who's already successful, not the one day I'll be successful. She is already. This is why most people self sabotage right before breakthrough. It's not because they can't handle success, it's because success requires them to become someone they don't recognize yet. The whole identity fights back. It whispers, who do you think you are? It reminds you of every time you failed. It points to your past as evidence of your limitations. But here's what I learned. You can't become the person your dreams require while holding on to the identities that got you there. The caterpillar doesn't gradually become a butterfly. It dissolves completely into the cocoon before something entirely new emerges. Your transformation is no different. The person you're becoming doesn't exist yet, but she's waiting for you to let go of who you've been so she can be born. There's a part of her who's here, but she's waiting for you to bloom. Of course, the permission. So here's what I want you to understand. You have permission to dream as big as your soul demands. Not the dreams that make sense to your family, not the goals that feel realistic to your friends, the dreams that make you feel a little crazy when you say them out loud. But first, you need to be honest about the identity you're going to have to leave behind. The version of you that thinks that 100K is a big goal, she's going to have to die for the version of who thinks in millions to be born. The version of you that apologizes for wanting more, she's going to have to step aside for the version of owns, for the version who owns her ambition and unapologetically. Each time it's hard, this one to say. The version of you that asks permission, she's going to have to make room for the version who gives herself permission. That's why success terrifies you. It's not about the money or the recognition or the impact. It's about who you have to become to hold all of that. And I need you to get honest with three things. First, what dreams have you been shrinking? What do you really want to build, but you keep making smaller to keep others comfortable? Maybe you want to write a book that reaches a million, but you tell people you just want to help a few people. Maybe you want to build a multiple seven-figure business, but you say you just want to make a living doing what you love. Here's what I want you to do. Write down what you actually want, not the sanitized version, not the realistic version, the versions that make your heart race and you palm sweat. Then look at what you've been telling people instead. Notice the gap. That gap is where your power is hiding. Second, what identity are you clinging to that's keeping you small? Are you still the person who doesn't know about money? The person who is not good enough with technology? The person who comes from a humble background? These identities feel safe because they gave you permission to stay exactly where you are. But they're also the prison keeping you from where you want to go. So, a woman who builds $1 million business doesn't say, I'm not good with money. She becomes good with money. So, a woman who wants to impact millions of lives doesn't say, I'm just one person. She becomes the person who shows what one person can do. Third, what does success actually means to your soul? Not society definition, not your parent version, not whether it is yours. Maybe it's impacting a million lives. Maybe it's never worrying about money again. Maybe it's building something that provides for your family for generations. Maybe it's proving that every little girl who was told to dream small, that there is another way. All those desires are valid. All of them are allowed. So here's your permission to sleep. You're allowed to want millions in revenue, to impact millions' life, to build something that changes everything. You're allowed to want wealth that gives you complete freedom, to be seen, celebrated, known as the best at what you do. You're allowed to outgrow every limitation you were taught to accept. You're allowed to become unrecognizable to the people who knew you when you played small. You're allowed to leave behind every identity that no longer serves you. But most importantly, you're allowed to want all of this without justifying it to anyone. The woman you're becoming is not asking for permission to dream small. She's demanding permission to dream big. And I'm giving it to you. Your dreams are not too much. The word just is not used to people who think this big. You're not here to make the word comfortable. You're here to make it better. And that requires dreaming bigger than anyone ever taught you was possible. The version of you who dreams without limits is asking you to remember who you were, who you really are. She's asking you to stop betraying your soul's deepest desires to keep other people comfortable. She's asking you to get as excited about your potential success as you are afraid of it. She's asking you to trust that you can handle becoming someone you don't recognize yet, because that's what transformation is, becoming and recognizable to who you used to be. The caterpillars doesn't ask the butterfly permission to transform. It just surrender to the process. Your transformation is waiting for you to surrender to let go of who you've been so your becoming can emerge. Because here's what I know. You're not afraid of success because you cannot handle it. You're afraid of it because some part of you knows you absolutely can. And that changes everything. The woman who builds $1 million business, who impacts million lives, who creates generational wealth, she's already inside you. She's been waiting for you to stop being afraid of her power. Stop making your dreams smaller to make others comfortable. The world need what you came here to build, all of it. And most importantly, you need to become who you came here to be. Not just for your dreams, for your soul. Hmm. Sorry, I've been a bit passionate about that topic. If this episode hits differently, if you recognize yourself in that fear of your own success, share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Your dreams are not too big. Your ambition is not too much. Your soul knows exactly what it's capable of creating. Stop making your dreams smaller to make others comfortable. The words need what you came here to build. All of it. And don't forget to subscribe because the next episode is going to be so good. So until next time, stay true, stay aligned, and remember, you have permission to dream as big as your soul demands.